Hi everybody, Marley here. Really excited to be doing this video, this Eater's Manifesto. I feel like it's a really great time of the semester to reflect on all the work that we've done, and it's nice to just kind of take a second and be proud of ourselves. So, looking back on this semester of mindful eating, gone through a lot of changes regarding my relationship with food and with my body. And I think that this change is rooted in the deepening of my own mindfulness practice, like just like in this class and outside of it too. I'm in a mindfulness facilitator training, so this class has been such a nice supplement to that. And there are many times where I'll be in my class and bring up something from mindful eating, and it's just like such an insight. Um, so throughout this semester, I've implemented a daily mindfulness practice. It's the first like time that I've engaged in mindfulness is this year. I actually stumbled upon mindfulness by going to a retreat that I thought was going to be about yoga, and it wasn't. So when I got there and I figured out that it was a meditation retreat, I was really overwhelmed, but I just kind of accepted it. And as I was experiencing the retreat, I realized how impactful meditation is for me, and it's completely changed my life. Yeah, I'll get into that a little bit later. But in terms of a mindfulness practice every day for me, most nights I have a formal practice where I sit down, focus on my breathing and my body sensations. It's kind of like a winding down ritual for me. It like helps me sleep, which is great. I'll take a shower, put on pajamas, dim some lights in my room, maybe burn some incense. Don't tell Rose life. And while the incense burns, I like fill my water bottle up with ice, fresh water from my Brita. It's really refreshing. And before I sit down to meditate, I actually like to journal. I'm really into journaling. It's like a meditation within itself. Feels like emptying out any potential thoughts or planning that I might engage in while I sit, which can be kind of distracting. So it feels like there's nothing left to think about by the time I've journaled it all out. And I find that I have a deeper and focused meditation if I journal before I sit. And if you need a recommendation for guided meditations, the Calm app is great and they're themed, which is cool. And my capacity for like self-regulation has also gotten so much better. Whenever I'm feeling overwhelmed, my first response is no longer to spiral or even get more worked up. Instead, I use my mindfulness techniques like deep belly breathing or like placing a hand on my heart. That can feel really nice sometimes. And I think this shift has helped me show up better for myself and for the people that I surround myself with too. And by having this foundational practice, I've had like the prior knowledge and capacity to dive so much deeper into this class. And over the course of this semester, I've definitely noticed a difference in how I approach my eating habits and like how my emotions show up with eating. And like in terms of like basics of mindful eating, they've definitely made their way into my meals. The mindfulness practices that I'm engaging in have helped me had a better awareness of how my physical body is feeling, which helps me like gauge my hunger levels, which is helpful. And when I take a breath and I feel my body, I can do a better job of gauging how much and what I want to eat at that moment, if at all. And even like the past couple of weeks, I've noticed that like I'm assessing my food a lot more than I used to. Like today, I had like a chicken quesadilla with jalapenos on it from New World. So good. And normally I would just kind of like eat it, not really think about it, and like go on my phone. But for some reason, I felt the need to open it up and like look inside, and it made me feel almost better to know like what was inside my quesadilla before I ate it blindly. Like I've been slowing down a lot more. I've been chewing my food thoroughly without distractions. Definitely tell a difference in what I'm tasting. Helps me savor it a lot more. And by eating this way, I can also investigate how hungry I am throughout my meal. So if I need to stop, if I'm not hungry anymore, I don't feel the need to clean my plate. And overall, I can like feel a difference around like the energy that mealtime holds for me. It's much positive, much more positive now. It's like not like a fearful thing. And there's a lot of reasons why I eat too. I know we talked about that. That was like one of my favorite sections of this semester. And learning about that there are different types of hunger than just like your stomach growling to tell you that you're hungry. That was like such a revelation for me. I actually wrote about cellular hunger, like in relation to glucose levels in one of our quizzes about like types of hunger. I was on a backpacking trip and I was feeling like really tired, and my first instinct was not to eat because my stomach didn't really feel empty, but I still craved the apple that I had in my backpack. I was like, oh, I just like really need to eat this right now. And after I ate it, I felt so invigorated and ready to keep going because the apple actually restored my glucose levels and gave my body carbohydrates to feed off as I was backpacking. And in that moment, like that time period, I had no idea why it made me feel so much better because I didn't feel hungry. But now I understand like the foundations of like neuroscience and its connection to eating and glucose levels. And it's so clear to me now why that was like the best apple I've ever had. In terms of the environmental aspects of eating, I've always known that eating locally is more sustainable. It travels a short distance, reduces emissions, but also supports a local economy, which is great. Most times I've found that I enjoy the taste of locally grown food a lot more too. Like I love local produce the best. I'm actually moving into my own apartment and cooking for myself for the first time, so I think learning about sustainable cooking and eating is super important before I go out on my own and make my own grocery and like meal decisions. And even though the farmers market isn't open yet, I'm really excited to check it out this summer. And like supporting the local dairy farms and bakeries in particular is like really important to me. It's just delicious. um, and like thinking about this like variety of local foods and like mindful eating as a whole in my everyday life has definitely had an effect on the lens with which I view my food and like choose my food. The week that we talked about all of the chemicals that are in our food is actually really interesting to me and how like the overly processed foods have contributed to the rise in obesity, like particularly in America. And for some reason, one of the things that came to mind when I like opened up the PowerPoint to like go over the notes for this presentation and everything was like the amount of corn that we eat without even realizing it. Like even the wax on our vegetables, like it makes them shiny. Like that's crazy that's corn. And like after that, I've adopted like a new routine of like washing my groceries, like to try and get all the corn wax like off of my apples and stuff. And besides like all the corn, I've tried to do a better job being aware of like all the random crap that goes into my body when I eat processed foods. Like for example, when I go grocery shopping, I prefer to buy things where I know like what most of the ingredients are like when I read them. It also helps to like be able to pronounce it on the ingredient list. Like I have like a little rule like if I can't pronounce it, my body probably won't like it. And thinking about my health in this way overall has definitely been a welcome change this semester. Since diving deeper into mindfulness, like and mindful eating, I've noticed a significant positive change in my mental health and particularly my anxiety disorder. The world of mindfulness has brought me so much peace in my everyday life, and a lot of practices that I engage in emphasize things like self compassion, creating more spaciousness. In my mindfulness facilitator group, we do have a metaphor. It's actually kind of cute. And like to keep it short, like our minds are our homes, and our homes have a lot of guests every day, and those guests can be anger, joy, grief, anxiety, like silliness, like you name it. And the catch is that we welcome those guests into our home no matter what. And this is part of the mindfulness journey that we acknowledge our current experiences, try to, without judgment. And as silly as it sounds, this metaphor has like helped me with all types of experiences and make myself witness to them rather than a victim. And this practice, along with all of the other mindfulness practices that I do, have helped me sit with my anxiety just a little bit easier, a little bit every day. And overall, I have really enjoyed this personal, vulnerable, experiential class. And we covered a variety of topics, and I feel like I got something valuable out of each of our meetings every week. And coming into this semester, I had a pretty solid background in mindfulness, but we had never touched on mindful eating during my mindfulness facilitator training. So it was completely new territory for me, and I'm so glad that I took this class. I didn't realize that the realm of mindful eating would be so engaging for me. I learned so much about my habits, my body, my thought patterns surrounding food and eating. And now that we're at the end of the semester, I feel liberated, empowered in my ability to recognize my hunger cues and be able to react accordingly and make appropriate choices. So I think that's the end of my presentation, but I really wanted to thank you guys for creating such a welcoming environment in our class and our professor as well. We had such a fun time, and I had such engaging conversations with each of you. And I hope that you guys have a great summer, and yeah.